Welcome back to another episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. You can get all your Pack-A-Day updates by following us on Twitter at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Remember, you can always subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, or Spotify. And, of course, you can always check us out over at cheeseheadtv.com. I'm Kyle Fellows, and I'm joined by my co-host, Andrew Mertig. Andrew, we just watched a football game, man, and I'm supposed to ask you how you're doing, but we watched the football game. So how's it going, man?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Well, and a shout out to those joining us on YouTube. Sorry, Andy's not here. Still feeling a little under the weather, so get better soon. I'm sure that football game did not help the way he felt in any way. So you're stuck with us today. We are typically the optimists. If you don't listen to the audio version, Kyle and I kind of embrace that, and it's getting hard to be optimistic at this point.
Yes.
That was, Thursday Night Football, typically not very enjoyable. That was also not very enjoyable, but for probably different reasons. I think overall it was probably good football, just not from a Packers fan perspective. I do think, glass half full, we learned some things about the young players. I think we're starting to get into the situation, though, where the rest of this year is more about roster evaluation and no longer about that push for the playoffs. But I did want to say one thing. I wish this was in a better situation, but I wanted to give a special shout out. Belinda Sue is a listener who is a rideshare driver in Omaha, Nebraska. Spencer Sweeting gave Belinda Sue a shout out on Twitter earlier this week for being a super dedicated listener, a big Packer fanatic. So thanks to Belinda Sue for being such a loyal listener. Flip side, bad football today, right? But it is amazing that this can be a way to, for people to pass their work day or give us connection back to the Packers if you live somewhere else. Or just helping you kill some time while you're doing your job, whatever it happens to be. That part's truly a privilege. So we will get into the game tonight.
Absolutely. We are surrounded by so many amazing listeners, so thank you for sticking with us through the ups and downs, mostly the downs of this season. But yeah, amazing listeners. Thank you, guys. It is late. We're here because we want to help you guys get through this as well. All the Packers needed was a win here. They didn't get up. And so you're here on a Friday, probably watching this, listening. You want some help unpacking this. So that's what we're here for. Results are in. Packers 17, Tennessee Titans 27. Not the way we wanted things to go.
No, and of course, this means the Packers dropped to 4-7. You have to imagine, not that I'm a mathematician, but that almost completely eliminates them from playoff contention. You'd have to run the table to finish 10-7. 10-7 is pretty much a guarantee given the 7 seeds that you would get into the playoffs. Maybe 9-7 gets you in, depending on a whole bunch of other factors. But there's not a lot I've seen from this team that makes me think that that's even possible, right? And they have the Eagles staring them in the face in 10 days. A few tough games down the stretch, including Miami and Minnesota and a whole bunch of other things. So are they done? No. Do we maybe start hearing calls for Jordan Love if they do get done? Yes, whether you like that or not.
Yeah, it's tough. We came off the Cowboys game, and I mean, the Cowboys game wasn't perfect. Obviously, they found themselves down 28-14. That game kind of felt like this one in a lot of ways, like it was going to get away, and then maybe there was a chance to come back, and they obviously did. So you got a lot of hope, right, built back into your season, and then you found yourselves watching this game. And like Andrew said, it's slipping away. That opportunity to make the playoffs, it's getting smaller. But we're here. Let's talk about some general observations. We're fans, right? We come in this watching with everybody else. From a fan's perspective, what are some of your takeaways, Andrew?
Yeah, it's bad. It's just bad football. That's my whole takeaway as a fan.
It's a good one.
It's a bad one.
That's kind of where we are. Andrew, we've done a handful of Thursday night football games over the last couple of years, right? It feels like we've covered more than our share of stinkers. Let's just say we've done our work here. We've had 49ers games that still give us nightmares, and we try to be the optimists. Like you said, it's our job to keep you all sane, to help the fans deal with the pain that comes with this, right? We're invested. This is our team, just to kind of keep some perspective and all those kinds of things. We try to be that calm in the storm, the voice of reason. But we find ourselves here yet again, not only just dealing with the season, but you and I talking about a really bummer of a football game. So we're going to do our best. I mean, you lived it, you watched it. Some of you probably, maybe you didn't see all of it. We're going to kind of break this down for you, just kind of go through the game from beginning to end, because there were some high points. There were certainly some low points, but there's a lot of good mixed in here. Why you kind of felt like this game was a game that the Packers could win until the very, very end. We're going to get through that. So, Andrew, let's jump right in here. I'm going to start in the first quarter, okay? It really felt like when the Green Bay Packers started this game, they were going to start out strong, right? And get a 3-and-out right away. They got to 3rd and 6, and then Tannehill hits just a monster play to Treylon Burks for a huge gain. He beats Nixon in coverage, and that big play immediately put them in field goal range. So it kind of flipped. Things were going the Titans' way. But they didn't stop there. The Tennessee Titans slowly worked the ball down into the red zone, and then the drive ended with a Tannehill touchdown pass to Dontrell Hilliard. So not the way that you want to start a game at home, giving up 7 on the opening drive. The Packers then on offense, on their first drive, they also face a 3rd and 6 after 2 consecutive running plays, but Aaron Rodgers fails to connect on a pass to Robert Tonyan. It looked like Rodgers might have just missed that throw, just a little bit outside of Tonyan, might have been short of the sticks. Even if they were able to complete that, it didn't look like he was going to be able to turn the corner and make that first down. But Titans get the ball back with 9 minutes left in the first. Nice play by Rudy Ford on the punt coverage, by the way. Just wanted to give him a shout out there, doing nice work on special teams. The Packers defense followed that up with a big sack on Tannehill on 2nd down. Quay Walker and Preston Smith met at the quarterback there. I think Preston got credit for that sack. Tennessee was not able to dig out of that hole, and Green Bay was able to force the punt. And interestingly, Randall Cobb was back to return this punt. Of course, we know that Amari Rodgers was released this week. We know that he's done it before. Cobb's done it before. But I just don't know that I was really expecting Cobb to be the returner this week and have that opportunity. So that was kind of a surprise here in the first quarter.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the only time that Cobb returned in the game. So yeah. Nixon took over from there. So I'm not sure if that was something that the coaching staff saw, if that was something that Cobb didn't like. I don't know.
Yeah, weird.
It was strange, and we'll see if Dede Westbrook is taking those duties going forward from here. Yeah. But on the defensive drive you were talking about, like, it was a really nice stop of the defense, but what I really noted was just incredible anticipation by Quay Walker to shoot the gap, guess play action, and then completely disrupt the whole play. And we knew Quay was a really good blitzer coming out. That was the least of my concerns of him as a prospect. And so it's good to see, trust me, I'm going to criticize the defensive coaching as we go on with this show. But it was good to see that they were using Quay in a little bit more of that blitz action because they need to utilize his multi-skill talent set.
Yeah, Quay is definitely a fun player. We saw him doing a lot of different things, and I feel like we've seen that evolution over the weeks. We talk about the fun things that are mixed into maybe the not so fun parts of the season, and Quay is definitely one that we've gotten to witness some of that with. But after the slow start on the opening drive, things did heat up for the Packers offense on their second drive with a couple more touches for Aaron Jones. He had a 9-yard gain on 1st down and then picked up a 1st down immediately thereafter. Green Bay was obviously making an effort to get number 33 the ball. I believe he touched the ball on 5 of the Packers' first 6 plays. So that's an interesting, emphasis coming into the game. I mentioned Cobb got the punt return duties, but he made a big catch here too early on in the game, still in the first quarter. A gain of 24 on, I would say, a rope from Rodgers. He just really dialed it up, got it right out there to Cobb. A couple plays later, Cobb jumped on an Aaron Jones fumble to save the day there as well. So Cobb making a big impact in his return from injury for sure. A couple plays later, Rodgers caught the Titans off guard and got one of those vintage free plays in on this game. 12 let it fly deep into the left end zone into the outstretched arms of Christian Watson, who was able to haul it in for his 4th touchdown in 2 weeks here in the first quarter. Amazing stuff for the rookie. Just great to see him stack some success really, really early in this game, especially in a moment where Rodgers is looking for a big play for him to trust number 9. It's kind of a big deal. Now, the Packers did miss the extra point here, so I believe it was blocked, but we're just not going to dwell on any more of the negative than we have to here. First quarter wraps up with a score of 7-6.
Yeah, and so then I get to talk about the incredibly fast second quarter. The Titans, of course, got the kickoff to start the quarter because the Packers scored on the last play of the first. Another short kick by Crosby, clearly something not totally right there. Good that he gets 10 days rest, but certainly concern in the kicking game going forward. The Packers have to give up a first down completion because of a savage defensive pass interference. Rasul made a great play on a screen pass. Derrick Henry gets stuffed. And then a great catch by Austin Hooper over Rudy Ford to extend the drive. Or, so we thought, a challenge. And the Titans end up in 4th and short. And then, of course, convert because they have Derrick Henry. And then, Derrick Henry, it's just like run. First down. Treylon Burks for 6, and then 2 more Derrick Henry runs for a first down, and then a couple of passes, including a blatant missed holding call against Preston Smith. Another Henry plunge for a first, 2 throwaways in a row, and then a catch over the middle by Robert Woods. 18 plays, 10:06 off the clock. But the Packers come up and they stop them on 4th down. They stop Derrick Henry, no points. A huge momentum swing in this game.
Big deal. Yeah, absolutely. The defense came so close to getting so many stops on this drive. I mean, we had the 3rd and 2s. I think there was 2 maybe 3rd and 2s. There was a 4th and inches, of course. Another 4th and 1. You referenced one of those was the challenge that set them up with that they had to convert, which they did. But Rudy Ford came within inches of tipping that Hooper catch. It was just one thing after the other was so close to getting a stop, just couldn't do it so many times. It just felt inevitable they were going to score, but then they get down to the goal line, finally come up big in the biggest moment. That was absolutely huge. And I mean, a reason that honestly Green Bay stuck around in this game as long as they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a really, really frustrating drive from a fan's perspective, right? Because it's like, okay, they can't stop Derrick Henry. They're just going to run him. Bang, they stopped him twice in a row.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's 3rd and 9, and then Robert Woods is open. Austin Hooper's open. Do something right. Yeah. Just something right. So many almost, as you said. The Packers get the ball back, having given up 0 points. And then the offense is going to run the ball down. They're going to take their 5 minutes. They're going to score at least 3. And then we're going to go in. We're going to double dip in halftime.
Love it.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that would have been a good game plan. Instead, we see 2 Dillon runs, which are too many, in my opinion, given the way Aaron Jones was cooking. They don't get much. And then Rodgers almost gets sacked. Does get intentional grounding. Barely made it out of the end zone. Probably could have been a safety if he had not reacted 1 inch sooner. And then a really bad punt by O'Donnell way backed up in the end zone. And so the Titans have the ball back, and Kenny Clark is offsides for no reason. Tannehill gets first to Robert Woods. And this is just the particular issue I had with the defense. The Titans have no pass-catching weapons, right? I mean, Treylon Burks had a really nice game, so credit to him. But he basically has no NFL experience. And the Packers are playing zone. So Tannehill, multiple times on this drive, he sends his running back in motion to the outside. The corner slides from the receiver, who was previously the outside receiver, to the running back. Now, what does that say? That tells the Titans you are playing zone, because you wouldn't send Jair out to cover Hilliard, for instance, as a wide receiver. So then they just go quick out. So the running back clears the corner, right? Just runs a 9, clears the corner out there. They dump the slot receiver out into the flat, easy completion, 6-7 yards at a crack, right? Stop playing zone. What are you worried about? Who's going to run past you? And so, 2 short runs, a soft zone completion to Robert Woods, another 3rd down, another soft zone. Burks gets a crosser, so that's at least a different route that the Packers are giving up, but again, zone problems. And then Derrick Henry runs it in for the touchdown. The Packers get the ball back with 30-some seconds left, not enough to do anything, and it is halftime. By the way, here's a fun fact. In the second quarter, the Titans offense ran 27 plays. The Green Bay offense ran 3.
Wow. Not that good. No, I mean, we celebrated the big stop, right? Like they were able to finally stop. The defense pulled out, when they had to, right? That was a big stop. But basically, they just delayed the inevitable, right? Because the offense couldn't get anything going. They gave them the ball back, and they just ran it back from the 40-yard line back into the end zone. It took a little bit longer, but same result. So that was I think the biggest frustration was like the defense did what they needed to do, but realistically, it just took a couple more minutes than it was going to. So big bummer.
I'm getting like annoyed with the whole like, oh, they don't play good complementary football. But this is such a good example, right? Like it's like all you need is the offense to get like 2 first downs. Even if they don't score, at least the Titans don't get the ball back and have the opportunity to score this touchdown. And like in a lot of ways that flipped the game, right? Like it makes it so much harder to come back from these kind of things, especially given the struggles.
And it felt just like 2 dead plays like before the Rodgers almost safety, right? Like, I mean, I know that they wanted to give him a little bit more room, but the reality is when you got into third down, you were dealing with a safety potential anyway. Like, I think you have to run it, maybe get a little bit of room on first down, but I hated the stacking of the second run play there just because then you only give Rodgers 1 shot, and obviously it didn't work out. And then it's dead from there. So, I mean, it's easy to second guess everything in hindsight, but not the drive that you wanted after your defense really came up big there. So, are we at halftime? Is that
we're at halftime?
We've made it to halftime. At halftime, time of possession, interesting. Titans 19 minutes and change. Packers 10 and change, obviously. Big in the Titans' favor there. So jumping into the third quarter, Packers get the ball to start the second half, right? They come out with some creativity. I liked it. Rodgers connections to Lazard and Cobb to start the drive. They ran a crazy play where it looks like Rodgers is set to pass to the left flat, but then spins and throws to the right flat, which takes like wild mechanics to pull off and almost like a blind look. Like that's scary to me because like if you don't hit your footwork right on that, like you could be turning into a corner that's there to make a big play. But regardless, it worked out. Fun to watch. Rodgers almost connected with Lazard on a bomb to the end zone really shortly thereafter. Could have been a pass interference call there. I felt like that could have been easily called. The contact before the ball arrived as well as the ball was arriving, but no flag there. Rodgers went back to Lazard for a big third down conversion 2 plays later after a Lazard drop in between. So you got 3 Lazard looks in a row there. After the first down, it looked like Rodgers wanted another free play. Of course, we got the one earlier in the game, but the Titans defensive lineman conveniently discovered that he had an ankle injury right around the same time he discovered he was supposed to be not on the field. So Rodgers was not impressed, kind of some joking around between the 2 teams. But
I'm looking around for my yellow card, right? It's World Cup season.
Yeah.
Faking an injury, man. That's not cool.
Not cool. Everybody knew it. Just kind of an odd look there. But Titans got a good amount of pressure on Rodgers on third down. Forced the Packers to settle for 3 points there. The drive took almost 7 minutes, but you only come up with 3 points. Score is 14-9 with only 8 minutes left in the third. Unfortunately, the Titans go right back to work, right? Tannehill hits a Okonkwo for a big gain down the sideline to the tight end with just a bunch of pressure in Tannehill's face. It was actually kind of amazing that he got that ball off in time to get it to Okonkwo. But then right back to Derrick Henry, right, who broke a huge run. This one was kind of soul-crushing, honestly. Quay Walker looked like he was going to meet Henry in the hole here, but he looked like he got grabbed or like twisted before he could get there. No call. Next thing you know, Henry's off to the races. Runs all the way down inside the 10-yard line. Amos saves the touchdown, right? Catches him at the end there. Keeps Henry from collecting that rushing touchdown. But then Henry decides, I'll just throw for one. On the very next play, he throws a jump pass to Austin Hooper. Just kind of an ugly string of plays for the defense. The lone bright spot was the missed point after attempt, right? So second of the night, failed to get the conversion there. But the Titans do extend their lead there to 20-9. They got an 11-point lead here.
Yeah, and we try to avoid the whole excuse blame game. There's bad calls in every NFL game, and usually over the course of the season, or even over the course of a game, they even out. But man, that missed call on Quay was so big
bad.
because Tannehill's throwing the screen pass,
Mm.
and if they don't hold Quay, there is the possibility that he gets there and disrupts the throw, right? So that never happens. If they call the hold, obviously it's coming back. Did it impact the play? We don't know. But the fact of the matter is the officials just can't miss a guy who's in the middle of the field, no traffic around him, right? Like, it's not like he's in the middle of the pile getting held.
Right.
He gets his shoulder pad grabbed and then twisted around. He does a 180. So how you missed that, I don't know. They must have thought he was flopping, because there's no way one of those two officials behind the quarterback doesn't see that happen. Yeah. I know that they're looking at the linemen to make sure that they're not inelligibly downfield. They're looking for other things. They're looking at to make sure Tannehill doesn't get hit. But like, you have to see that. That's such an easy, visible play. And then you add that in with the fact that Christian Fulton apparently just tackles wide receivers in the open field. I like games typically where the refs, the officials allow the teams to play physically. It just doesn't work to the Packers' advantage, as my brother said, when the Packers' defensive backs aren't within 10 yards of the wide receivers.
So. Yeah, they should play the same way, I guess. But I mean, you're right. Sometimes the holds are subtle, but that one totally popped off the screen. You said maybe they thought he was flopping, but clearly pulled off the assignment, which sprung the runner, it was too bad. So Packers don't get the help that they need from the defense there. They've got to get back to work on offense, right? Rodgers hits Randall Cobb for a 28-yard gain. Good to see Cobb back, making more big impact plays. On a huge 3rd and 3, Rodgers finds Lazard on the right sideline for a huge conversion. I thought it was going to be like back shoulder, but no, he just caught him in stride there. A few plays later, we got a second Christian Watson touchdown. The play was just beautiful. They faked the end around to Cobb, and Watson worked all the way across right to left, and Rodgers just finds him in the back of the end zone for 6. So just a fun one to watch. Then down 5, Green Bay successfully goes for the 2-point conversion on an Aaron Jones run. So just like that, Packers are back. They're within 3 points.
Yeah, and then we got the fourth quarter, and the Titans really just kind of matriculate the ball down the field. They end up throwing a touchdown to Austin Hooper. It looked like Rudy Ford stripped it away a second too late. And here's me complaining about the officials for the second time. How convenient is it that the upstairs replay official can call that down in that particular situation, but on so many other times they do nothing? Like, this has been my proposed fix to all of the bad, like, okay, let's say it's a pass interference, a really obvious holding, roughing the passer, those kind of situations. Why can't the upstairs official just be like, yeah, you guys this one's going to look really bad on the replay, and just fix it? Because you can do it in that situation where, by the way, that, the Titans don't have to waste a challenge. Then why can't you just do it in a bunch of different situations? Anyways, okay, rant over. The Packers come back. They seemingly failed on like 18 different drives in the fourth quarter. I can't even keep them straight, but apparently early in the fourth, they tried a deep shot to Christian Watson. Christian Fulton just absolutely wrapped him up early. I know Watson needed to keep going on that play. Like, you need to see him run hard throughout. He kind of slowed up, didn't expect the ball. That's bad. But Fulton absolutely got away with a huge penalty. And that shows Christian Watson's speed, that he caught back up to the ball. And then Watson just straight arms. It doesn't allow him to go up. It would have been a huge penalty, but it didn't happen. So then incomplete third down to Tunyon, quick 3 and out. Surprise, surprise. Another third down after 2 nice run stops, and yet another conversion by the Titans. Yawn. It's Westbrook Akina this time. And so you're just like, okay, well, the Titans are going to milk the clock down. They'll get some points. The game's over. And wait! Ryan Tannehill does Ryan Tannehill type things and throws the interception to Rasul. Game back on.
Yeah, man.
And then holding call by Yash. And we know how well the Packers offense deals with down and distance problems, right? First and 20s are not our friend. So we get an incomplete and nearly intercepted ball to Alan Lazard. Cobb gets some of that yardage back, but then Rodgers wildly misses Sammy Watkins, who is absolutely wide open down the middle of the field. That was poor. The Packers punt again. They get a 3-and-out after a huge hit on Tannehill by a closing Chris Barnes. Absolutely fantastic on that stop. And then Keyshawn Nixon made me very, very nervous by fielding a bouncing ball on the punt return, but ended up breaking outside for a really nice return in the Titans territory. By the way, fun fact, Keyshawn Nixon got pushed out on the play by the Titans punter. He also got tackled by the Titans kicker on a kick return. So Keyshawn Nixon doing really great things, so much better than any returner the Packers have had in history. Yeah. But something with the specialist there. On third down, Rodgers gets another chance. He just misses Lazard. And then goes back to him on fourth down. And Lazard kind of just gave up on that route. So again, complimentary football. The receiver is wrong in one instance. Rodgers is right. Then the receiver is wrong. Rodgers throws an excellent pass. They can't get on the same page. Right. They can't complement each other's styles. Two really, really nice stops in Derrick Henry and then Preston Holmes. I don't know who that is. Preston Smith gets the sack. Well, was anything a Priest Holmes? I'm not sure. He gets the sack. Well, the Packers use all of their timeouts. I actually like that strategy. LaFleur going for it early, leave as much time on the clock as possible because the offense is going to take forever on a drive, right? And so the Packers get the ball back, and they need a touchdown, and then an onside kick, and then a field goal in some order. Tonyan catch over the middle. Watson a nice catch on the sideline, Lazard over the middle, a bunch of garbage in the middle of all that, but getting 10 yards at a time, kind of matriculating the ball down the field. And then Rodgers holds the ball absolutely forever, takes a sack. I get the receivers did not do their jobs. They just basically didn't run secondary routes. That was pointed out on the broadcast. But Rodgers has to find a way to get outside the pocket and throw that away. You cannot hold on to the ball for 6 or 7 seconds. The Titans are too good for that. Any NFL team is too good for that. That, again, not being on the same page. The receivers aren't running those secondary routes and getting open for their quarterback, who actually has some time, and their quarterback's not doing what he needs to do to get rid of the ball. He seems afraid to get outside the pocket right now. And Watson made a really, really nice catch that almost made up for that third and super long, but he kind of fell awkwardly backwards. I don't know if that was a lack of awareness or he just got hit in a weird way, but he falls down. He's short of the line. The Packers try to run. It was going to be the 2-minute warning down 10 anyways, so running for the first down, I kind of get it, but also didn't make a ton of sense. Either way, they run right at Jeffrey Simmons. Aaron Jones doesn't get the first down. Right. Titans could just run out the clock. Instead, they throw a bomb to Treylon Burks, and we don't need to talk about that. But So I get to talk about the second and the fourth quarter, which are by far the two worst quarters the Packers played. So thanks for giving me those.
No problem.
It's brutal.
Yeah. No, so, I mean, I think it's worth, the Aaron Rodgers conversation is really interesting, right? Because, I mean, I think it's fair. We're big Aaron Rodgers fans. I think it's fair to be really big Aaron Rodgers critics in times when he's not playing well. And it felt like the beginning of the game, he was playing like he was at the end of the Dallas game, right? There was some big plays. It seems like things were on time, maybe outside of maybe the miss on the first drive, the Tonyan, just it felt like things were in sync. And then at the end of the game, it felt like we were back to beginning of the season Aaron Rodgers, where I mean, you mentioned there's some chemistry things going on, but the miss to Sammy and the miss to Lazard, those were game-changing plays that were there for him. It wasn't like that was going to be an amazing play by the receiver or by the quarterback. Those were there. They were, the opportunity was there, and he just missed them. So interesting just to figure out. You could see the frustration on Aaron Rodgers' face, and it seemed less like he was blaming those around him for those throws than maybe we saw earlier in the week, but just that genuine disgust and frustration that he knew that he missed those opportunities. So, I mean, I think he knows that some of this is on him. It'll just be interesting to see, as we've talked, this season is kind of slipping away, how they pivot as an offense and if they can grow from this, or if it's just some frustration as they've continued to kind of experience the same things week after week, even from 12.
Absolutely. And so we wanted to just give some really brief overviews of how we felt the offense and defense played. And I'll kick us off with the offense. And I think the best word that I can come up with to describe the offense is just inconsistent. It's it's been the case all year, right? Like Aaron Jones does some nice things early. AJ Dillon didn't really provide much. It seems like AJ Dillon's yo-yoing a little bit in the season. And then, Christian Watson deserves a ton of credit for making the 2 touchdown grabs.
Absolutely.
Randall Cobb was really important, like you talked about. But still, like some miscommunications with Watson a little bit here and there. The rest of the receivers, however, were just downright bad. And I have never said this. I thought Alan Lazard was terrible in this game. And he's the kind of guy who's like always at a certain level, right? Like he's always a 7 or at a minimum because he's going to provide so much in the run game.
Right.
And I thought he blocked reasonably well, but in the receiving game, he was such a negative that it was truly bizarre. I just haven't seen him have an off game really since the Packers sort of discovered him.
Seriously.
I should mention, I thought the offensive line was good enough. It was just an overall uneasy performance, and like I'm lost here. I don't know how it gets better. Like that's my problem with this offense. Like, what's going to improve that they're suddenly going to turn into a rocket ship that's going to be able to do something against the Eagles, who have like 18 all pros on their defensive line?
Yeah, yikes. Right. No, I think you're absolutely right, and I don't think that's crazy. That's the most frustrating thing, is because the pieces seemingly are there. It's the chemistry that's off. I think you look at like what would you replace on this offensive line in the coming off season, and there's no one that you're like, it has to be that guy. Like, I mean, there's places where you might want to make improvements, but like this is a good unit, and then they have talent at receiver. It's just things aren't gelling right now. It seems like the play call, I think the offensive creativity is really, really nice. It just seems like they're calling plays at weird times, maybe not optimizing opportunities and those kinds of things. So, yeah, that is probably the biggest frustration on offense, that it isn't really something you can pinpoint necessarily that you would change that thing. You want to talk about the defense a little bit here? Or do you want me to talk about the defense a little bit here?
Either one.
I'll just throw out, like, I felt like this defense, we come into this game and you talk about Derrick Henry is going to be a big, big problem for this team. And outside of the big run that we talked about where Quay kind of got hung up there, I felt like they did pretty well hanging with shutting down the run enough. Like, I think it was yards per carry. I think the Packers had 2.8 and the Titans had 2.9. So, like, I mean, we're in a place where, like, you felt pretty good about, if that's what you're going to take out of this game, you felt pretty good about the way that you hung defending the run. I guess the other thing is, like, Devondre Campbell would have been a big impact in this game. I feel like we felt his absence. Obviously, Quay hung in there really well, but Quay is, I don't want to say a finesse player, but he's a speed player, and he's someone that you want to utilize in that sideline to sideline range. To have someone like Devondre that could be that second enforcer in the middle would have been a big deal. But I mean, I feel like where they got gashed was in the passing game, and these off coverages and just missed assignments, and the Okonkwo play, just where they like absolutely were in Tannehill's face and they gave up that huge play along the sideline. Just stuff like that just like, it's not how you thought you were going to win this game, but at the same time, we keep seeing the same mistakes by the defense and giving up those big plays in coverage. So frustrating across the board, but a little bit less, like the offense, hard to put your finger on one thing, but just little things here and there.
Yeah, I just want to play a quick game of football terminology. So you've heard of press man and off man before?
Yes, sir.
Right. I'm gonna create a new phrase, and that is the Packers playing off zone, which is apparently a zone coverage where you just drop everyone and then on 3rd and 10 let a guy run an 11-yard out and then don't even close on him for another 5 yards. Right. Like, I don't know what that was. If I want to be positive, like the defensive front 7, especially the line, played their butts off to slow down Derrick Henry, even in some situations where, quite frankly, I would be totally fine if they had quit. In the fourth quarter, when the offense was just like, we're not going to move the ball. We're just going to go 3 and out a bunch of times. I know you're tired, but whatever. Good luck tackling Derrick Henry. And they did. They just kept making plays. Preston Smith played great. Quay Walker played great. But just no sense of play design. And when the play design was actually okay, the players didn't execute well. There were plays where Rasul was totally lost. There were plays where, Darnell Savage was lost, which were like all of them. And it wasn't good. Like it just, it's not complimentary football again. Your front seven is sacrificing their bodies, tackling this behemoth of a man, and getting him into 3rd and longs, and then you're letting Ryan Tannehill just carve you up with little to no, either no pressure, which was the problem early, or just soft zones where he can just quickly make a read and dump it off, and that's frustrating, man. You just can't keep giving up 3rd down after 3rd down.
And I think you say frustrating. I think that's the word for what we watched tonight, because it felt like early that the offense was going to be able to keep pace and do enough. That's the thing all year. It's been like the offense just hasn't been able to do anything. And then tonight felt like, okay, they're going to do enough to compete in this game and pull it off. And then the defense has been good enough all year if the offense could just complement them at times. And then tonight, the defense just gave up way too much. And then obviously the offense, when the defense could play at the end of the game, the offense couldn't maximize it. So it's just like they can't, not that the offense and the defense have chemistry in any way. They play separately, but they were just totally at different times not complimenting each other what they were able to accomplish on the field. So just head scratching and so frustrating as a fan.
Yeah, really quick. We're going to wrap this up with some positives, but I do just want to mention the injury news so we don't close with that.
There you go.
It did seem like there were 3 injuries of note in this game. TJ Slayton, who actually did end up coming back into the game and finishing it. Darnell Savage also reportedly came back in the game. Quay Walker with the shoulder. I know he went in the medical tent. I didn't see if he was in there on the last drive or not. So to be determined. I would say that was probably Quay's best performance of the season. And so it would be really, really unfortunate if he misses any time. The good news is the Packers have 10 days to heal up and figure out what the heck they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to talk about some positives to close out this game?
Yeah, I think I've hit on mine quite a bit. It's Quay Walker and Christian Watson. I think you and I nerd out about roster building, right? So if you're not familiar with us, if you don't listen to the audio one, like we talk about roster building all the time, draft.
We are.
But like churning the bottom of the roster, right? That's how the Packers found players like Tunyon and Rasul Douglas and Rudy Ford, and the list goes on and on. And I think the end of this season is going to be an opportunity to do that, as the Packers, if and when the Packers get eliminated from the playoff contention, we're going to see some of that. That's really interesting to me, but even more so, seeing how these young players develop. So, hopefully Dobbs gets healthy, but the complement of Christian Watson and a receiver like Dobbs will be really fun to watch, to see if Quay Walker can be like one of those next level linebackers, like his draft position would indicate, Kingsley Enagbare, or however Al Michaels tried to say his name. And like, I'm excited to watch that, even if the games get to a point where they don't really quote unquote mean anything.
Yeah. No, it is. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, you're right that we stay a little bit more invested in this because we love to talk about that roster building stuff. But I mean, the reality is the Packers aren't bad enough to be as bad as they are. They're really, it's frustrating. They're a really talented team, and they will be a really talented team entering 2023. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, what do they work on? What players do they try to move around to figure out? Because like, the roster will not be that incredibly different next year than it is right now. We can talk about quarterback, right? We don't know, but the rest, this team is going to be similar. So they got to figure out what's going to work, who's here for the future, and what's the glue that's going to make this team, hold together, and those kinds of things. So really interesting. Just a couple other positives. I mean, we talked about Rasul Douglas's interception had the opportunity to be a pivot point in this game, and just his ability to read the run. It wasn't a run, and then I don't know if he watched film and recognized a play, but he just went to a spot on the field and he backed right up into that coverage. I mean, the instincts, but also the ability to arrive and catch the ball the way that he did, just a huge, huge play. We've seen it from Douglas before, and it's too bad that the offense couldn't, swing back the momentum and make a play. But Douglas just with a monster play there for sure. And then Chris Barnes, I mean, to come in, they're just losing linebackers like crazy. Barnes comes in and just absolutely knocks Tannehill on his butt on 3rd and 1, and really, again, gave the offense one more chance. Really I mean, if he doesn't hit that the way he does, you're obviously worried about the flag because he's a quarterback. But if he doesn't hit that the way he does, he probably converts that first down. So Barnes, big play, just a couple nuggets in there that like these guys are playing hard, and that's I think the most frustrating thing is like some guy they're not giving up on this, but it's just not working out, and there's a lot to figure out.
Yeah. So we will see as we move forward. I think there's still a ton of really interesting football in front of us. But that is all the time that we have for today. This has been the Pack a Day Podcast. You can find Kyle on Twitter at Packer_pundit. You can find me at Andrew Mertig. Please subscribe and rate the Pack a Day Podcast if you like what we're doing. Subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to audio version. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Fridays at 4:30 Central, our Pack a Day Happy Hour. Although I don't know how happy it's going to be on Friday, but you can catch Kyle and myself every single Friday on the audio version. And next week, we're going to be back previewing the Packers' Week 12 matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Thanks for listening. And as always, remember, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.